current grading approach.
Hey guys, we'd like to welcome Irving Fryar to the Q. This is our first actual guest, and this is something we're going to be doing every Tuesday and Fridays on our Q. And please continue to join us, and we're excited to talk to Irving.
So love it. I'll kick it off just so people in the queue, if they don't know who we are. So, guys, just about a few weeks ago, Tyler and us, we kind of reached a partnership to do a sponsor for our daily show. Our daily show is meant to help people in the hobby. Cage, the guy you see right above me, he has 4 decades of experience in the hobby. He's been collecting since basically the 70s. And I come at this from the millennial standpoint. And our goal is to, share some of the things that work in the hobby, share conversations, share insights. And I hope today you guys get a really good feel for what we're about. And you get some entertainment from the conversation with an NFL legend, Mr. Irving Fryar. So before we get into anything collectibles, Irving, I got to ask you, what's the number one thing you miss about playing football? What's the number one thing you miss about playing in the league? Mm-hmm.
I guess the money. I mean, everything else. Come on, that was an easy question. Obviously, it's definitely was not the kind of money that they're making now, but it was good to be able to have, I guess, what some would call extra. But I mean, I miss the fellowship and the camaraderie that we had amongst ourselves. You just don't get that a lot of times, or I should say most of the time. When we retire, whether it's in the NFL or another profession, we kind of go in different directions, and we lose contact with a lot of people, and we end up not, staying in touch, and therefore, you move on. And I miss some of the guys. That was a special time where you're depending on one another, you're accountable to one another, you're relying on one another. You're working with one another. You're going through ups and downs and ins and outs, victories and losses, disappointments, celebrations, all of that together as a group. And, it really is a team sport, and you really do have to depend on the man standing next to you to get his job done in order for the team to be successful. So I miss that too, the unification that football brings to a group of men.
I love that. And the reason I asked that question, so I didn't have nearly your level of success. I played Division I soccer, and that's where my career kind of peaked. But it was the same thing. I missed the camaraderie. Right. I don't know how much you know about the sports card hobby, but it's the first time in 10 years since I've been done soccer that I felt the same sense of community, the same sense of camaraderie. And you mentioned something. You said, you have to show up for the guy next to you, right?
Right.
And the hobby's small. And what's interesting is when we're having this conversation, it's, a lot of people have heard over the last year, the hobby's booming. People have made 800X, but we're in a bit of a dip. And there's no way to sugarcoat that. And
really,
we are in a dip. It's a real dip. And people are not panicking, but worried, concerned. Mm-hmm. And I think what's special about a time like this is if we could have positive conversations, there's an opportunity for people to see how strong the hobby is, how strong the community is. And it reminds me of some of the things you just said.
Well, you have to stick together. If it's going to happen, if you're going to get through it, I'll tell you what, when the hard times come, that's when you find out who's with you and who's not with you, who you can trust and who you can't trust, who's going to hang in there during tough times and who's going to bail out. So there's some good that comes out of that for sure.
I got a question. I got a question if I'm allowed. So, talk about the brotherhood, talk about the guys you missed, talk about all that stuff. And we know you played in New England, you played in Miami, you played in Philly and Washington. Those are the teams you played for. But how about the city that you enjoyed playing in the most? Whether it's the stadium you like playing in or what happened after the game, or what the place with the best clubs. Who knows?
These are somewhat obvious questions.
Oh,
okay. Let's. You just mentioned them: New England.
Yep.
Philadelphia.
Yep.
Washington.
Yep.
And Miami.
Yep.
I'll give you one guess.
Philly has the best clubs.
and it wasn't the best clubs. I'll give you one. The nicest place and where I really had the most fun, and really after leaving New England, and I really don't want to say anything negative about New England, and this is not meant to be negative towards New England. But after leaving New England, having already played in Nebraska and coming to New England for 9 years, going to Miami was like dying and going to heaven. Just from the weather, the atmosphere, the freedom that we were given as players to be creative. Like, for instance, as a wide receiver, we weren't limited to just the play. We could be creative in running our routes, and we just had to, develop a relationship with the quarterback, him understanding what we would do as receivers in certain situations and give us time to do it so he could get the ball to us. But, it was like dying and going to heaven down there. My game, as a football player, as a wide receiver, went to another level as well because we would just, like I said, we had the freedom to be creative as a receiver. Didn't have that freedom in New England. It was just, it was call the play, run the play. That was it.
Irving, so I've watched your career, and I know that's one of the things that, if you were putting chapters in the Irving Fryar book, the chapter would be and this is it hits home for me because I'm not a young man, right? That you had such great success in the latter stages of your career, and that's a cool thing for somebody like me, right? Frank Thomas selling that Nugenics, whatever it may be. I like to see somebody who, towards the end of his career, you had your first 1,000-yard season when you were 29, and you hit, I think you were a Pro Bowl 4 times after the age of 30, yes. Which just doesn't happen. Normally, that's you're on the downswing, and it's great to hear because I would never have known. Part of that is the additional offensive freedom that you got on these later teams, right?
Yes.
On Miami.
Yes.
Nice little.
I think that played a big part in it. And then, like you said, it was just maturing, and it was a young guy who had very little stability in his life, finally getting focused on what he was trying to do. And with that focus, being able to do that focus allowed me to do what I was trying to do in New England, allowed me to do it better. But with the addition of, a new team, new plays, a new way of doing things, a new way of playing the position. Like I said, Miami, Philadelphia, Washington were very similar in the way receivers were given the freedom and the plays that they called. When I was in New England, my first year in New England, the year before that, they were number 1 in rushing, and we ran the ball first. We did old school football. We ran the ball first and set up for the pass later. And also, back in that time, if you caught 70 passes during the course of the 16-game season, you were really doing something. Yeah. 70 balls, you caught 70 balls. Man, now you catch 70 balls, you get cut.
It's true, though. Really
if you catch 70 balls now during the season, you really haven't done anything. It's, guys are catching 100, 110, 120 balls in a season. No, they're not. I think my average per catch was, over my career was plus 17 plus yards. But now guys are catching the balls, 5-6 yards. That's your average. And then they're running after they catch the ball. But that's the game now.
Oh, listen, when you retire with 851 catches for 12,785 yards and 84 touchdowns, that was huge numbers. That was top of the class there.
Well, yeah, when I retired, I was number 5 all time. Of course, that I've dropped tremendously, I think, since then. But I felt like I was able to, at least make somewhat of a mark during the time I was there. And my first 9 years were really slow as far as catching balls and being a part of an offense that threw the ball a lot.
Right. Always contributed, though, right? 17 years straight with a touchdown until Jerry Rice broke that. That was a record.
Well, you know what? That's nice that I had a record that Jerry Rice. It took a Jerry Rice to break it.
Exactly. Well, listen, you caught passes from 19 different throwers, 19 different players. I say it that way because, maybe you caught like one from a running back. So I had to make sure 19 different people threw you a touchdown pass, right? Mm-hmm. And you were lucky to catch balls in Miami from Dan Marino, right?
Right.
So not to besmirch anyone.
Let's besmirch them.
I'm not going to say any bad names, nothing like that, right? But how about what's one quarterback you would have liked to have played with? And it doesn't have to be during your playing days. It could be now. It could be beforehand. You give me Y.A. Tittle if you like.
I would have loved to have played with the 2 quarterbacks that Jerry Rice played with. That's Joe Montana and Steve Young, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. He played with 2 quarterbacks. That's it. And both of those cats were awesome. Steve Young came out in the same class that I was in. And he actually sat, I think I want to say maybe 5 years before he actually, became the starter at San Francisco, or maybe it was a year less.
He was in the USFL for a little while too. Right?
Yeah, he was there, but he was in San Francisco for several years under Joe Montana before he actually got the green flag to go and be the starting quarterback. So, if it had been stable, I think, or had some stability like that, but also what played a big part of my numbers not being, at the top was those first 9 years in New England. We did not throw the ball. That's all. We didn't throw the ball.
Listen, also, I mean, New England, that team, you were on a 1-15 team, right? I mean, you were on a team.
Yeah, I think that was my last year there. The year before that, I think we were 2-14.
But listen, but one year you made it to the Super Bowl with New England, right?
That was my second year in New England, yes. And we got beat by the Bears, and that was the worst whooping anybody had ever gotten in the history of the Super Bowl. I mean, at that point, there have been a few worse since
wasn't
then,
your
but
fault.
we were worse.
That was the mighty Chicago Bears defense, and only one person on New England scored a touchdown that day. Do you remember who that was?
That was me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's all right. We're not going to give you too much blame for that trouncing. I mean, you scored.
I saw. I guess it was some kind of sports channel or something a few weeks back. They were showing that game on TV, and man, it was Murphy's Law for us. I didn't realize so many things went bad for us. We really, really played. I mean, the ball just didn't bounce our way. We were fumbling. Guys who normally didn't fumble the ball were fumbling. Guys who normally didn't drop passes were dropping passes. The quarterbacks were throwing interceptions. The defensive backs were dropping interceptions. It was a bad day for us. I don't know why we played so bad. It was kind of embarrassing sitting and watching it again.
People were I think, was it Miami who beat the Bears during the season? I think people were kind of expecting Miami to be you guys were kind of a surprise entrance to the Super Bowl.
Right.
But yeah, I've watched that game a few times. And yeah, the ball did not bounce your way. No. Listen, my co-host here, I'm a fat old man. My co-host here is into fitness, and obviously you're older than I am and in significantly better shape, right?
Well, how old are you?
I'm gonna be 45 this year.
Oh, you're young. You're a baby.
I'm an old man in cards. Trust me.
I was still running full speed at 45.
Yeah, well, we have something in common. You're running full speed. I don't remember the last time I ran. Somebody better be chasing me with a gun.
Well,
or a really
I'm 58
knife.
now. 45 is way behind me. I'm 58 now.
So I have a question for you that's going to be, more in line with what my co-host talks about all the time. And by the way, if there's anybody in the queue from New Jersey, the man you're looking at here, 255 games played in the NFL, more than any New Jersey-born player. So
wow. I didn't know that.
There you go. More than anybody in New Jersey. Anybody in Jersey out there, give this guy some credit.
Is that more than Franco Harris?
Yeah, 255, more than anybody born in New Jersey. More than Franco. And I don't talk about Frank. I'm a Raider fan. He did not catch that ball. That's
yes,
it's like saying Voldemort.
Yes, he did. You're talking about the immaculate reception?
Yeah, I'm talking about the immaculate.
He caught that ball.
Immaculate drop.
No.
Immaculate
that ball did not bounce up from the ground.
All right. I thought I liked you before. I'm good.
Oh, come on. I mean, you got to give credit to where credit is due. He was in the right place at the right time, and that's what makes greatness.
Right. And the tuck rule was great, and the snow game was great. The Raiders were never on the wrong side of any type of NFL garbage.
But remember, he did catch the ball, but remember, he had to run and get into the end zone. So he had to complete that whole thing. So there was an opportunity for him to be tackled.
But listen, so the guns are out, man. I got the ticket to the gun show here, and so I got to ask, it's longevity. I mean, you played 255 games, you lasted for 17 seasons, yes. Right? Was there a fitness regimen? You're still in it now. I mean, how do you keep yourself in such great shape?
Well, I think a big part of it is genetics. I can sit around and do nothing. And, I won't look necessarily muscular, but I won't get fat, or I can not eat and not get skinny. I'll still look the same. But, yes, I still do work out. I don't do the same kinds of workouts that I did before. I recently I think it was last August is when I started CrossFit training. And I really love it because my body really does respond to it. So, handstands and power cleans and muscle ups and toes to the bar and all that kind of stuff, man. It's really, really, I feel like I get hit by a train every time I leave the gym, but my body really responds to it.
All I do is curl soda. That's it.
When you see guys like DK Metcalf now, right, and Julio Jones, and we're going to talk about that because it's a big week for Tennessee. And by the way, Irving, the company Hybrid Grading is headquartered in Tennessee, so we're going to be talking about that. Were you guys training and lifting that much in the 90s? What was like? What was the conversation like about power cleans and front squats and hang cleans and just power Olympic lifting? Were you guys doing none of it?
No, we didn't do. We did some of it. I don't think we did it to the extent in terms of how much science has played a part with regards to putting together workout regimens for particular position specific workouts. So I don't think we did it to that extent, but we did. There was a point in time in my career, I think about maybe my third or fourth year with New England, where working out during the off season became a big deal, and it wasn't before that. I mean, obviously, when we were in college, we did workouts during the off season, and you had winter conditioning and all that. So that was a part of what we had to do in college. But when I got in the pros, my first couple of years, there weren't a whole lot of guys that were doing a whole lot of planned workout sessions during the off season. You kind of came to training camp, and training camp got you in shape. But then things started to evolve, as they still are evolving now, and working out with a workout regimen or a workout partner or a trainer started to become more popular. So as time went on and as I got farther and further into my career, yes, I did work out more. I spent a lot of time in the latter part of my career on the track, working towards peaking right when the season would start, right when training camp would start. So I'd start my workouts in January or February, and I'd work them until I get to the point to where I was peaking at training camp time. That's, running quarters, 800s, 100s, 200s, those kinds of things. And then the same thing would happen with my workout in the gym. I would start out slow, and as time went on, I would make sure that I was my strongest when I was going into training camp.
Who's a wide receiver that resembles your game that's playing today?
Nobody.
Nobody.
I used to. And I say that because of this, because they're great athletes right now. I mean, these guys are unbelievable. But I used to be different in that I was kind of a heat-seeking missile. I didn't care really much about catching balls like the first half of my career. All I wanted to do was knock somebody down, knock somebody out. That's all I wanted to do. What was that receiver's name from Pittsburgh? He's physical. Hines Ward. Yeah. Hines Ward didn't start that. I started that. They said Hines Ward was the figure. No, you could listen when you interview other guys that were either defensive backs or defensive players from other teams that played against me, ask them. I was just a guy you had to make sure you knew where I was on the field. Otherwise, I'd catch you. And that's
you initiated initiated the contact. You didn't wait for the defensive back to initiate it.
Well, you have to be the hammer, not the nail.
Cage tells me that all the time.
Yeah, that's how you last a long time. If you start absorbing that physicality, you're not going to last long. If you're initiating it, you're going to last a lot longer, and you have less chance of getting hurt or being injured. So that was my game. I don't see that a whole lot now in the NFL. I know they've changed the rules, and guys are less physical, I guess, than they used to be. And there's certain things that you can't do anymore. But the biggest part, there's another part that I don't see anymore. I don't understand this about the game. I'll see a guy who's a starter, and this happens on every team that I've seen the last particularly 5 years or so. They'll play a few plays, then they're on the sideline. They'll catch a ball, they'll go to the sideline. I don't know if that's the way the coach has planned the rotation during the game or what, but I believe I never came out of the game. I believe in my career, if you go back and you count how many years I played, how many offensive plays during those years that were actually executed during a game, that I'm 90+ percentage in terms of being on the field during the offensive plays. We didn't come off the field. We played different. It was different. Like I said, so that's the difference. I don't see anybody doing that now with regards to being the physical receiver. And in that 5-yard chuck area, the defensive back is allowed to hit the wide receiver, but guess what? The wide receiver is allowed to hit the defensive back too. It's a 5-yard contact area. So come up, let me get my hands on you so I can whack you around because you think you're going to whack me around, but no, you're going to get some of this. If you're going to give some, you're going to take some.
See, I hear Irving, and what I'm thinking is if he played today, he can still be playing now because he'd be hitting people.
I don't think I'd still be playing now.
Forget about it. Look at him. I would. I think he'd still play because you only play 50% of the snaps. You'd be out there hitting the defensive backs.
Yeah, you're right. I wouldn't get hit by a defensive back. A defensive back has to figure out how not to hit you, how to hit you without getting a penalty.
That's right.
And by the time he does that, or when he does it, he hurts himself.
It's crazy. Go ahead, Andrew. You had a question?
It seems like it seems like that's like the general rule, right? For I was watching an interview with Kobe, for example, and they were asking him about rest. And they're like, you see players today that take days off, right? They take rest days, whether that's their own decision or the strength and conditioning coach. And they asked him, and Kobe smiled. He's like, we would never do that. We would never do it. And it's the same principle, right? You played 99% of your snaps. That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And now you see players. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only time I wasn't on the field is if I wasn't in that offensive set, meaning like short yardage goal line or something like that. Or I think punt is considered an offensive play. But as long as I was in that set, I was on the field. So if I ran down the field a long way or 20 or 30 yards and didn't get the ball, I didn't go to the sidelines. I ran back to the huddle and got back in the huddle. So it's just different now. That's all. It's all right. Listen, if they can make all that money and get away with all that stuff, God bless them.
That's it. I want to do that. I want to work like 40% of the time and get paid when they get paid. Hello, yes. Exactly.
Yeah,
listen,
hello.
I'm going to ask a question. Irving might not answer, and Andrew gets on me because my questions they're like paragraphs. So
that's okay. We got plenty of time.
That's it. I love it. So we're gonna have just 4 questions here. I asked you where your favorite place to play was. A lot of people on the queue might not know who you are. I mean, Irving played for Nebraska and was the #1 player drafted in the NFL, 1984. Right. Mm-hmm. All right. And
back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
No, listen, I was watching college football back then. I watched that Nebraska game. I got a question for you in a second. You may not answer it, but I got a question for you.
I'm going to answer. I know what question you're going to ask, too.
Oh, nice. I love it. All right. But before we do that, there's a game that was played when you were in college that is not played now. It was a really cool thing, right? You had to really look for it on TV in the 80s. They stopped in the 90s. But you got to play in Yokohama Stadium at the Japan Bowl.
Yeah.
You remember, Andrew, you ever even heard of the Japan Bowl?
Who, me?
No, Andrew. I mean, he's a younger guy.
No, they don't know that.
So, I mean, that was like a college all-star game. I guess they have kind of like a senior bowl sort of now. But, I mean, literally over in Yokohama, I mean, I don't know if it was still as, when you were doing it in the 70s, it was huge. But in the 80s, there were like 60,000 people in attendance in Japan watching these games, right? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, yes, the stadium was full.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And this guy won the MVP of that in '84, by the way, too.
Yes.
What was that like? Was that playing in Japan?
I remember being over there, and it was terrible because they don't have TV over there. I mean, the TV they did have, that's when Michael Jackson first came out with Thriller. That's all you saw. When you turned the TV on, all you saw was Mike on every channel. It's like 3 channels. Everything you saw was Michael Jackson, Thriller. It was crazy. But yeah, that was a good time. I had a good time over there. Again, I got a chance to meet players that I played my whole career with. I mean, I think the Reggie White was there, Bruce Smith, guys like that were in the same class as me. And that was Mike Rozier was there with me from Nebraska, and we had a really good time.
Mike Rozier, you're friends with him in Nebraska? You still keep in touch? If not,
actually,
Mike, if you're listening.
Listen. It's funny you say that because Mike texted me yesterday. I see Mike all the time. Mike texted me yesterday and asked me to play golf today. But he cursed me out because I told him no because I had to do this show.
Listen,
I should show you his text message. He was cussing me out. We're getting old. You need to hurry up and make sure you come out here and see us. Time's running out on us. We can't waste these opportunities. I'm like, man, I got to make this. I got to do this show.
Yeah,
I made a promise to these people. I'm going to fulfill my promise.
Well, I'm glad you're still chatting with him. I mean, Mike Rozier was on your team in Nebraska. Yeah. He was that guy. I was 7 years old, and I remember Mike Rozier was a Heisman Trophy winner, and that was like the pinnacle. Like, I'm going to go play football. I'm going to win the Heisman Trophy. And I learned a lot with that Nebraska team. Number one, guy named Irving Fryar there was a backup running back to Mike Rozier. What was his name?
Jeff Smith.
Do you still send Jeff Smith like a care package every now and again? You know?
Yeah, I have to because Smitty came. I talked to Smitty. I talked to him about I want to say a couple of months ago, first time in many, many years. He gave me a call. Yes, Jeff Smith is awesome. He's my friend. I love him because he took the stink off my nose.
So Irving, I'm gonna set this up. It's third down. It's a national championship game. It's Nebraska against Miami. I'm watching this. As a 7-year-old kid, I'm watching this with my parents. While we're watching this game, right? We'll get to Tom Osborne in a second. You know what I'm gonna ask, right?
Uh-huh.
But so I'm watching this game. Irving breaks middle of the field down to the left, wide open. Pass comes a little behind you. I'm not gonna a little behind you, and the ball just it falls for incomplete. Now it's fourth down.
But listen, it was no. You kind of a little bit behind a little bit. Yes, the ball was a little bit, and I relaxed because it was a touchdown. I had another 5 yards to go. I'm walking in the end zone, nobody even near me. No, it was a little bit behind me, but it was my fault because I relaxed, and the point of the ball hit my hip pad and fell out. I was like, that was the only pass I dropped that year.
Yep.
I was absolutely devastated.
Irving wearing number 27, right, as a wide receiver.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I actually wasn't really a wide receiver. I was a wing back.
You ran the ball much too.
I was in a 3-point stance. Even when I was split out, I was in a 3-point stance, like a track stance. So it was, again, my career as far as a receiver early on in my career was not really. I was more of a blocking kind of guy. I mean, Raymond Berry had me because I could block. I remember a game in Indianapolis. He had me playing tight end, blocking big defensive linemen because I could block. I'm like, for real, dude? I need to be out here running up and down the field like Stanley catching the ball. Why you have me here blocking?
That's it. Drop the ball, fourth down.
You can go ahead and finish the story.
Rozier's on the sideline, right? Rozier is injured?
Yeah, he got injured in the first half, so Jeff Smith was in, and
Jeff Smith, number 28, I think, right? I think Smith.
Yeah, Jeff was number 28. A couple more plays later, I think we moved the ball. We went 1 or 2 more plays later.
You're about the 20-yard line, maybe 18, something like that. But you're close, and they pitch it on fourth down to Smitty, takes it right down the right sideline, and boom. They got the touchdown. No one's looking at Irving anymore. That's it. The stink is off, right?
Yeah, but I was worried, but I still haven't recovered from that.
Andrew, picture this: national championship game, down by 1 to Miami. All right, basically last play of the game, they scored a touchdown. Osborne sends the offense out. That doesn't bring the kicker out. Goes for 2.
Yeah, we're down by 1.
Make the 2-point conversion.
Talk about analytics.
Conversion, win the national championship. Well, miss the 2-point conversion. Don't win the national championship.
There's a story behind.
That's why we're here.
There's a story behind that. First, we had won 22. We were 12-0. We were ranked number 1 at the beginning of the season. We had gone 12-0 that whole season. We had won 22 games in a row, and so we were. I mean, I don't know if he was thinking about that or not, but yes, we went for 2. I would not change it. I mean, if you're going to get in, kick the door in. Don't back in. Let's take this thing. It's ours. It was a great game, and we fell short. But listen to this. So I play in New England for 9 years. Then I go to Miami, playing in Miami. Then one day, I don't know if it was my second year or my first year in Miami, I'm on the field during a practice, and the offensive coordinator or one of the defensive coaches, Tom Olivadotti, he starts talking to me, and he starts talking about the game in the Orange Bowl, that national championship game. Tom Olivadotti was on the defensive staff for the University of Miami in that game. He said, Irving, we won that game, or you guys didn't complete that 2-point conversion because we went back in the film that year. We went back before that game, and we watched to see if you guys had ever gone for any 2-point conversions, and you went for a 2-point conversion one time, and that's the play you ran. He's exactly right. He said that's why we were able to defend it, because we knew what you were going to run in that kind of situation. So we kind of got out coached a little bit.
Why didn't they give it to you?
Why didn't they give it to me?
Yeah. Japan Bowl MVP, number one draft
I think
pick.
I think we should have ran the ball actually instead of throw it. We were a running team. That's what we did. That was our Mike Rozier, Jeff Smith. That's what we did. We only needed 1.5 yards, 2 yards. We should have handed the ball off. 41 pitch. Let's mano y mano. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. End of the game, defense is tired.
Yes, I think we should have handed the ball off, and I think we really would have gotten that 2-point conversion if we had run the ball.
Yeah,
Irving, can we fast forward? So, like, we would always play backyard football. I don't know if kids still play football in the backyard, but like, no, I was still that generation where we still played backyard football. And I was a soccer player my whole life, but I loved it. It was like it was so much fun. And you always dream of yourself. You're catching that Super Bowl pass.
Right.
But another thing you dream of is being the number one pick. Can you walk us through? Do you remember the emotions of being the number one pick in the 1984 draft? And guys, picture this: the 1984 draft was NFL, had stars. NBA had Michael Jordan. So this is a big year for sports, 1984. Can you walk us through what were you feeling? Did you know you're going to be number one pick?
No, I'm going to really I'm going to disappoint you here a little bit.
Never disappointed.
Well, just because, first of all, I didn't want to go to college. When I left high school, I wanted to be a Marine pilot, and I wanted to fly airplanes or jets off of aircraft carriers. Because I had a couple of uncles who were Marines, and I just looked up to them. And because I began to be recruited by these different schools, and I had an opportunity to go to college, and I was the first person in our family to ever go to college. My mother said, take your behind to college. So I ended up going to college, the same college with Mike. Our families knew each other. We kind of grew up together. So we went to Nebraska together. Now, while I'm in Nebraska, I was taking accounting. I'm sorry. I was taking geography. That was one of my majors, geography, because I wanted to go into the military as an officer. I wanted to graduate. I was going to take some meteorology, geography, meteorology. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I was taking meteorology. I was going to go in the Marines as an officer out of college and fly jets. That's what I wanted to do. But because I do what I do and what I did on the football field, I became pretty good. I got pretty good. And they started talking about drafting me. Now, understand this. Cincinnati that year had the first pick in the NFL draft. I actually told Cincinnati, I don't want to play in Cincinnati. I'm not coming to the NFL. I'm going to the Marines. So sometime in that interim, they traded away the first pick to New England. I came home from college. We were homeless. My mother told me, listen, we need a house. You need to go in the NFL and get us a house. So I went into the NFL. So it was not that I was looking to go into the NFL. I really didn't care too much about playing football anymore. I wanted to fly jets. That was my goal. But I ended up going into the NFL. Now, as far as the first pick, I didn't realize, I mean, it's a big deal now. They make a big deal out of NFL stuff now in the draft and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't quite the same way. They didn't have ESPN back there and sports channels and all that kind of stuff. If you made, the highlights at halftime on Monday Night Football with Howard Cosell, you did something back then. That was it, a few highlights. So I really wasn't able to grasp the immensity of the time of what was going on with the whole event, with the whole season in my life being the first pick. I really didn't understand what was going on and how awesome it was, just because that wasn't really my focus, or that really wasn't my goal. Do I regret that? To a certain extent, yes, I do. I wish I would have been able to grasp that whole thing and been able to enjoy it the way they enjoy it today, and understood the influence that comes with being an NFL player and being a first round draft choice and all of the things that happen along that. But for me, I was a little bit bitter, and that's kind of rough to say, because I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do, and I had to do what I needed to do for my family. Sorry.
I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. So, I'm an immigrant. So We came here with nothing, so I respect being a family man. Sometimes sacrifice looks different for different people, right?
Right.
It's funny
Yeah,
that for you, sacrifice was to go and be the number one pick
well,
in
yeah,
the NFL.
I mean,
Felt like
I don't know if you can call that a sacrifice. I just didn't get. That's not what I wanted to do. That's all. After I got there and shook that off, then I really, maybe my third or fourth year in the league, I really started. Okay, let me. I'm going to be here. I've lasted this long. Let me take this to another level. And then, I was watching another team somewhere, and Chris Collinsworth was talking as the commentator, and Chris Collinsworth said that I was a bust. He said he's a first round draft choice. He's going to play maybe 7 years, and that's going to be about it. And he pissed me off. And I ended up playing another, I played 17 years, pissed off because of what Chris Collinsworth said. I did.
It's funny what puts the chip on your shoulder.
Yes.
My question:
yes.
You ever get up in a plane? You ever get any flight time? You ever log any hours? You ever get back to that?
I got a chance to fly in an F-16 at Fort Walton Beach with the Nomads one time when I was down in playing for the Miami Dolphins. I went to Fort Walton Beach for an autograph session, and I guess I must have said something to one of the pilots about my want and desire to fly. So they brought me back up and they trained me a little bit, and I was able to go up in the F-15 and do barrel rolls and upside down. I mean, it was great. It was absolutely.
So here's what I picture
wonderful.
though. You do a barrel roll, you pull enough G's, and you're like, what was I thinking? The NFL was the safer play.
No. I had a ball. I actually had a ball. I got my, I still have my military suit and my pilot hat, the helmet that they wear. It was absolutely wonderful, man. When we took off, we were about 500 feet above the ground and we straight up in the air. Oh, it was great. It was great. Do you guys hear that? My air conditioning just came on. Can you hear that?
No, but good for you, because we don't want you sweating.
Well, no, this is an this microphone that I have is an Shure SM7B, and that's what it does. It shuts everything out and just focuses on my voice. So
I have a similar one. This is what came with my iPhone. It's a very, very fancy noise canceling. It's pretty awesome.
So Irving, catch us up. So you mentioned you started a podcast, What's let's fast forward to modern day. What are you up to? What are some goals or projects you're working on, and how can our communities help support what you're doing?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, I've been pastoring for 18 years now. I started pastoring 18 years. We started the church 18 years ago. And actually, Saturday, what's today? Thursday? Saturday is our 18th church anniversary. So we'll be celebrating 8 years. Yes. So I'm still pastoring. I don't know if you guys know, 6 years ago, I spent about 8 months in prison, and I actually came out trying not to pastor anymore because I just didn't see it happening. But God said, listen, I'm the one that hired you. I'm the only one that can fire you. Get your butt back in there. That's the way God talks to me. Get your butt back in there and do what I told you to do. So the church is maintained. It's been doing what it's been doing the whole time. So I'm still there. We're still doing our thing. And we're 18 years in. So I'm doing that still. I started just recently since the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I was working at the New Jersey Youth Challenge Academy as the Chief Operations Officer. That's a quasi-military platform where we bring young people in from the age of 16 to 18 who are in danger of not graduating from high school. We bring them in for 6 months. They stay in a barracks. They wear uniforms. We get them prepared to take the GED. They take their GED. They graduate from the academy with their GED, and we place them, whether it's with Job Corps, whether it's in the military. We make sure that we give them something so that they continue to move forward in their life. But when the pandemic hit, the academy was shut down. So when the academy shut down, and since then the academy is going to open up back up again, but they moved it way far away from where I live. So since then, I started a CDC, a community development corporation called Redemption Community Development Corporation. We develop, obviously we're developers, and we do housing, affordable housing. We're in the process now of putting together in Mount Holly. Can you guys call the mayor of Mount Holly and get him to call me back? Anyway, we're in the process of completing, or starting, I should say, as soon as we get in touch with the mayor and he approves it. But we're in the process of doing a 64-unit, 2-story senior housing facility with amenities. And then my podcast.
I wanted to ask you, it was really, you just touched on both of the final questions that I personally have. Mentorship and culture, right? I think the reason why we love sports so much is it's kind of, you see what a successful culture looks like and what a losing culture looks like. You've been a part of a ton of winning teams, some losing teams. What are the parallels? What are some of the lessons that you can impart? What makes a successful culture?
What makes a successful culture is leadership. If you have adequate leadership who has vision and who can lead by example, not a dictatorship, but leadership. And then you have to have willing servants, willing followers, those who are believe in the vision, believe not necessarily in that individual as a leader, but because of their leadership skills and the leadership demonstration, they're willing to follow and they're the workers, they're willing to follow and get the work done to fulfill the vision. So I believe that's what creates success. There's leaders and there's followers. Everybody's not a leader. Everybody's not a leader. But you do have leaders, and leaders have to be adequate leaders in that we lead by example. And as we lead by example, the followers catch on, and they're the ones who do the work to make the vision become reality.
And at different stages of life, you could be a follower, and then at a different stage, you could become a leader. Like when you first enter, I was going to ask you, when you first entered the NFL, was there someone, a coach, a player that took you under your wing and said, I got you, I want to mentor you? Because I feel mentorship is important in today's day and age.
There wasn't anybody that really took me under their wing and wanted to, or said, or expressed that they wanted to mentor me. It was more of a friendship that would incorporate accountability more so than leadership. And that was a guy by the name of Michael Timpson. And that was maybe my 5th year in the league. Michael and I had a conversation. It was more wanting to or willing to be a friend that would add accountability to my life. Because early in my career, I was kind of a loose cannon, and I needed some kind of stability, some kind of male stability. And Michael Timpson became that for me.
I love it. And now you, with all of your programs, your podcast, your pastoring, you get to play that role for so many kids and inspire and change their lives.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to do. I believe that everybody's dealing with something. Everybody goes through something. Everybody has a past where we've had to overcome, where we've had obstacles, where we've had challenges that we've had to deal with and mountains to climb, so to speak. And it's all, different. Mine is not the same as yours. Yours is not the same as mine. Cage's is not the same. We all have different challenges in our past, but I believe we have those different challenges. Why? Because there's other people who are coming along who have some of those same challenges, and it's up to us, those of us who have been able to overcome and be successful. It's up to us to communicate with them and let them know, listen, yes, this is not uncommon. This is how life goes. But guess what? I went through the same thing. I dealt with the same thing. And this is how I overcame it. This is how I got through it. And you can do the same thing. And I believe that's why, you have people you hear stories about people who have been on drugs, who were alcoholics, who went through a divorce, who had cancer, and they overcame all of those things. Well, there's somebody right now who's a drug addict. There's somebody right now who's going through a divorce. There's somebody right now who's dealing with those kind of situations. And it's up to us, us who have dealt with those kind of things, to communicate with them, to let them know this is not a hopeless situation. No, this is life. This is how it goes. And you can overcome it. You can be better because of it. And you can still remain successful and be productive.
I love it. I think there's
am I preaching? Am I sneaking to preach? I think that's sneaking preach. I think it just
I don't want to say anything because I can't say anything better than that.
Like,
I like it. I mean, there's an end right there. I mean, I love it.
Let me ask one last thing, but this is to you, Cage. Is the 1985 Topps the Irving card to take a look at? Is that the card to buy? Is that it?
Show me that card. Do you have a copy of that card?
I do.
Yes, he does. I know he does.
85 Topps is the black border, right? You can share that one, right? That's the very, very condition sensitive.
I'm going to share my screen. Watch out, guys.
Watch out.
Just kidding.
You never know.
Can you put it up?
He's gonna try
in front of your camera.
Yes, sir.
I might have a few of those.
Yeah.
That. Oh, I hate that card. That's
What?
my rookie card. Look at that's ugly.
Look at you. Look at you. Come on now.
You mean you hate that?
I do, man. That's my. I got my tooth fixed since then, but my tooth is chipped. My hair is nappy. It's not combed.
I love it.
They must have took that picture after a game or something, man, or after a practice.
If I ever get on a Topps card, they can take a picture of my butt, and I'll be happy with it. And you're like, look how I look.
But listen, I'm going to tell you a secret so that you know, since you're collectors. If you see one of those cards, that card in particular, my rookie card, if you see that card and it has my signature on it, but the signature doesn't go across my face, I didn't sign it.
Wow.
Because I hate that card. I sign right across my face. I'm just telling you.
Let me show you guys something.
If somebody tells you that they have that card signed by me, and it's not signed right across the face, there you go. There it is. Right across the face. I told you. That's my signature. Yes, sir. Right across the face.
That's great. There you go. There you go. That's amazing. Great stuff.
I hate that card.
But yeah, that's the card. And those are really tough in good shape too, because the border on those is really difficult. I mean, you had Warren Moon's first card that year, Marino's second card in that year.
So why do you say what's with the black border?
Because of the black border, when people back then, they didn't open up packs of cards and immediately hermetically seal them. They didn't immediately take them and hide them away. I would go through them. I'd stack them up, put them with a rubber band. You know what I mean? As a kid. Right. And when you did that with those cards, because most cards have a white border, but the black border, the coloring on the card would actually like rub off or chip. So the corners would get damaged, the edges would get damaged. So it's hard to find that particular set in really good shape and top quality.
Okay.
So
I keep getting them all the time. People, people will send cards, pictures to the church, and I'll sign them. But I'll tell them make a donation to the church, and I'll sign the card. If they don't send a donation, my secretary who's my sister, she'll send it back with a note saying, "Listen, send a donation to the church, not to Irving, to the church." He'll sign it, and we'll send it back.
Fair enough.
But I see those. They send those rookie cards all the time. I see them all the time.
This one's cooler. You like this one more?
Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Yeah. Who is that next to me?
Jackie Slater.
Jackie Slater. Wow. Jackie and I are old. I played with Jackie Slater. Yeah, I played the same time as Jackie Slater. Yeah, we're both old. Man, it's been a long time. It really has been. I've been retired now. I've been retired now for 20 plus years. That's amazing how time just, man.
So Irving, I watched your career, college.
Pretty soon we'll be on deck.
Yeah. I watch all of this, right? And I say, especially from when you retired, you are a Hall of Fame player, right? The game has changed. The numbers have changed. People compile stats now. The game has changed, and that's not on you. If you play today, just like if Michael Jordan played today, I think he'd average 50, right? So if you play today, it'd be very different. When you stopped, you were top 5, top 10 in almost every category. So tell me, you got the NFL voters here. You got the whole deal. Why should you be in the Hall of Fame? I think you should. I can make an argument for you.
Well, my number, and I'm not a hater. I'm not hating on anybody. Okay, let me preface it with that.
I'm forcing him to say this, everyone. He's not.
So I mean,
twisting his arm.
I don't know who votes for the NFL. Maybe there's somebody out there, or for the Hall of Fame. Maybe there's somebody out there that doesn't like me. I guess I don't know. But here's what I do know. People have been telling me, yeah, you should be in the Hall of Fame. I think I came up on the ballot one time, maybe 5 or 6 years after I retired. Maybe the second year after I was eligible, I came up on the ballot, but didn't stay long. And people tell me all the time, you should be in the Hall of Fame. You should be in the Hall of Fame. And there was a time at one point I believed that I should be in the Hall of Fame. My numbers are good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, there are people. I mean, my numbers are better than Steve Largent, so to speak. He's in the Hall of Fame. My numbers are better than a few other guys that are in the Hall of Fame. And so I believed it. And then as time went on, I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen. Just accept it, bite the bullet and stop, getting upset about it. So I stopped caring about it. I really did. You got to play these tricks with our minds, So you really care, but you don't, I don't care. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Yes, you do. So I really did get to a point to where it really didn't bother me or frustrate me anymore. But then recently, a friend of mine was voted into the Hall of Fame, and I love him, Harold Carmichael. And my numbers are better than his. So now all those feelings and stuff came back up again.
That's how it works.
So yes, if someone like Harold Carmichael, yeah, if you want to just go by the numbers, then I guess I should be in as well.
Well, I'm going to lead the charge. That's it.
You're going to lead the charge? Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do.
I don't know. Maybe we go back in time and we let you play for the Bengals to start your career, because do you remember who they drafted in the second round of that draft?
The Bengals, the second round? No. Who was it?
Boomer Esiason. The lefty could have been throwing you passes.
Wow. Yeah.
Little Boomer. Who do you have instead? Grogan?
I had Grogan. Well, I had Tony Eason. Now, remember, Tony Eason was in the same class as was it Dan Marino?
Yeah, he was in the '84 class.
Yeah, and Jim Kelly was in the same class.
Marino and Elway, Marino, Kelly.
And Elway, yeah.
You got Eason. Could have had Todd Blackledge.
But Tony Eason was taken before all those guys. He just this is Carson Wentz. This is an example of Carson Wentz, and Bledsoe's the same thing. He got hurt, Tony Eason, and when he got hurt, it was a different game back then for the quarterback. When he got hurt, and however he got hurt, whatever it did to his mind, he was just never the same player again. He was never the same player, and I think that's the same thing that happened to Wentz. But when Carson Wentz here in Philadelphia, now in Indianapolis, I think the same thing happened to him, but to add injury to insult, or insult to injury, what happened to him happened, the same thing happened to Bledsoe. The guy that came and replaced him won the Super Bowl. And then you never heard from Bledsoe again. And now it's all Brady. And the same thing, Wentz just was never able to get over that. I mean, because that was the ultimate. And the fans here in Philly surely wouldn't let him forget about it. But they should have happened to a quarterback is you play well, you get hurt, then the guy behind you comes in and goes and wins it all. And then you come back and you try, and things just don't seem to click, don't seem to go well, don't seem to flow. And then you try even harder and you make it worse, and it just snowballs. That's what happened. And then you start getting in your own head. And once that happens, you forget about it. You can forget about it.
Is Eagles your main team? Are the Eagles your main team?
No.
You mean like his favorite?
But wait a minute, you're going to make me unpopular around here. You're going to get me in trouble because I live right outside of Philly. No, I don't have a main team. I follow players, Okay. And again, who can deny Tom Brady, man? Come on. The cat is just what he did this past year down in Tampa Bay. Come on. You can't. It's unbelievable. We are privileged to be able to see history and one of the greatest players, greatest quarterbacks ever to play in the NFL, ever to play football, whether it's in the NFL, college, or in somebody's backyard. We're privileged to be able to see this happening right before our eyes. It's awesome what he did. Unbelievable.
A true winner. One of the hardest workers in the NFL too, if you ask some of his teammates, which by looking at him would be a little surprising to some.
Well, yeah, he doesn't look like an athlete, but it's his mental capacity, his mental strength, his ability to focus over time and to stay sharp mentally.
Who are some other guys you respect or you like or you'd like to watch their game?
I mean, Patrick Mahomes he's just wicked on the field. That cat, man, is there's a receiver. I can't think of his name now, and you got me calling names. What's his name? He's a receiver for Dallas. I like the way he runs his routes. He's awesome.
CeeDee Lamb?
No.
Gallup?
Who?
Gallup?
No.
Amari Cooper.
Thank you.
Cooper?
Yeah,
Right.
Omari Cooper. There he is.
I don't say him. He left the Raiders. I don't talk
Oh,
about
come
him.
on. He's awesome. The way he runs his routes, and he's not a real fast guy. He's quick, but he's not fast, fast. But man, the way he sets up his players and the way he takes his time, he does things with looks like effortless sometimes, and gets guys turned around, and he beats guys that are faster than him, that are bigger than him. I really like his game. If I were still playing, I would watch film on him and incorporate some of what he does. Obviously, the way I would do it my own way, but I would incorporate some of it in my game.
Well, listen, here's what I'm looking forward to. 13 years from now, you're going to be in still much better shape than I am. That'll be when New England.
13 years from now, I'll be 70 years old, man.
Yeah, you'll still be running routes. You want to
I'll be on. I'll be on deck.
You got to be looking forward to this. That'll be when New England Patriots do their 75th anniversary team. And you were on the 50th, and you know you're still going to be on the 75th. Maybe Brady will be throwing you a pass then. Maybe you'll get Brady to toss you a pass. You'll be 70. You got to walk around.
I'll probably
maybe
miss it and hit me in my face.
No. That's all right. You know what you do, Irving? Bring Smitty with you. And if you drop it, he'll score on the next play.
He'll pick it up and score.
He'll bail you out.
Or maybe I'll bring Franco. How about if I bring Franco?
No. He can catch that ball. I don't care what anybody says. Irving, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys. No problem. I loved it. You know, have me back anytime you want. I'm here. Go ahead.
Where can our community support? Where can they follow? You know, all the things you have going on. Where can they go and support?
Well, the thing that I have popping off soon, and it'll be my YouTube page is going to be called The Fryar Place. We'll be establishing it next week, and that's where we'll be doing our podcast. So if you could do that for me, that would help me tremendously. We'll get this thing off and running and get it popping. It's going to be called The Fryar Place, where the conversations are fire. Yeah,
I love it.
So the YouTube page will be called The Fryar Place. Yes. So if they can help me with that, go and subscribe and watch. Even if you can't watch it live, it's going to be on Fridays at noon, from noon to 1 on Fridays. If you can't watch it live, then go on and subscribe and watch it. You know, and the recording will remain on the page.
You got it. This has been a pleasure. Thank you, Irving.
All right, fellas. I think we froze. Did we freeze? What happened?
I'm good.
We're good.
Okay, there it came back. Okay, it froze on my screen. Everybody was.
That's it. Do the Heisman pose.
The Heisman.
That's it. Gotta love it. All right, Irving. Thank you very much.
Love it, guys.
Thanks so much.
you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.
See you next time.
See y'all.